Moving on, next question. Okay, this person is a social media influencer and YouTuber, and they're asking where you're going to be taxed. If you are, there are two scenarios, right? So there's a scenario in which you are a US person when you're not, right? And I'm assuming you're outside of the US. If you're outside of the US and you are a US person, then you're subject to taxes on your worldwide income no matter how long you remain outside of the US. You cannot sever tax residency with the US until you surrender your passport or your green card. So you still required to file US tax returns. And on that US tax return, you will declare the income that you make from the sponsorships or from the platforms, whatever the case may be, right? So it will be fully taxable by the US. And depending on where you are, and depending on whether you trigger tax residency wherever you are right now outside of the US, you will be required to pay taxes there. Of course, the question is, well, how is that jurisdiction going to figure it out? Well, the enforcement, that's another conversation, but legally, if you are tax resident in most jurisdictions and you're working, even when you're working online and you're a tax resident, you need to check with a tax professional because more times than not, you will be subject to tax by that jurisdiction. Now, the second category, because I remember the first one is if you're a US passport, so you're a citizen or green card holder, that's how it plays out. If you are not a US citizen or US green card holder, i.e. you're not a US tax resident, you're not subject to US taxes and you reside outside, then you just need to think about where you're tax resident, right? So wherever it is, again, I said more times than not, if you are a tax resident in a given jurisdiction and you're earning money there online or whatever, it would be subject to some sort of reporting, some sort of declaration. So you need to check with someone who is qualified tax-wise in the jurisdiction which you find yourself. Now, some platforms, for example, and more specifically, or most popularly YouTube, which is perhaps the biggest of the group, they have started making compliance easier in that they are looking at where you as a creator, a content creator, where's your content being consumed? And if it's being consumed in the United States, they can apportion the amount that is attributable to your viewers in the United States. And right, so they will withhold 30%. Now, if you're in a jurisdiction with a treaty with the US, like most of Europe, for example, most of Latin America, you may be able to file a return and you may get some of that money back because of the double tax treaty. What it sometimes does, it may make you subject to reduced withholding. So you need to speak to a tax professional about that. So I hope that answers your question as a content creator, as a social media influencer, as a YouTuber, where you're going to be taxed. The two scenarios being either you are US exposed and you reside outside, or you're not US exposed and you reside outside. If you're US exposed and you reside outside, you're going to declare it on your US tax returns as you normally do, and be mindful whether you do trigger tax residency in whichever jurisdiction you reside outside of the US. If so, it may need to be declared. In the second scenario, you are not a US person, then you only need to be considering the jurisdiction in which you reside. But also certain platforms, for example, YouTube, they will withhold the amount attributable to the US audience because then it's deemed to have been derived from the US. So I hope that helps.
Please subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Our books and upcoming event are available at htj.tax. Email us at help@htj.tax to engage us, to advise on international tax or business matters.